Welcome to this new videographic creation. Today we talk about La Papesse, the High Priestess, that some people relate to the mother of Mary, Saint Anne. Other people claim, no, it's absolutely Pope Joan, La Papesse Jeanne, and some other people say it's Mary Magdalene. But personally, I know the truth. It's obvious that it relates to my grandmother. So Nonna, if you hear me, this video is for you. If we are examining card number 2, the woman who sits between two pillars or behind a veil, we see that she's holding a book nobody else can read. Most tarot readers, me included, will tell you that she represents introspection, intuition, mystery, the divine feminine, but we are not telling the whole story. Because La Papesse is not just about what you feel, but also about what you refuse to feel. What you study instead of living. The kind of tower that you're building while the real life is happening elsewhere. So of course she represents faith, knowledge, purity, but she can also represent cold resignation. The eternal student that never graduates, the egg that never hatches. So look at her in the Marseille deck. She sits on her throne wearing the triple crown, the papal tiara, and then she's important but also very alone. In her hands, an open book, not hidden like in the Rider-Waite deck, but open. Yet somehow still secret, because knowledge displayed is not the same as knowledge shared. It's a bit like posting book quotes on Instagram. Everybody sees them, but I don't think a lot of people learn from them. Behind her there is a veil or a curtain, and she sits at the entrance to something sacred, something hidden. She's the door, but she doesn't walk through. Like people like me, studying tarot, but not really implementing the wisdom of it in the material world. The book on her lap represents a sacred text, knowledge accumulated in solitude, but without the mess of real experience. The medieval concept of anima mundi, the world soul, flows through her. She's like the cosmic mother, the Virgin Mary, in its purest form, consciousness, untouched by the complications of being human. But purity there has a price, and this price is this lack of warmth. And this is the crazy part. In Renaissance Italy, exactly when women were not allowed to go to university, to study theology, even art, they were not allowed to have any hierarchical position in the church, somebody had the idea to paint a pope, a female pope, in a tower deck. This is almost a feminist statement for the time. Between the 13th and 16th century, a legend spread through Europe. Pope Joan, Jeanne la Papesse. The story claimed that in the 9th century, a woman disguised herself as a man. She rose through the church ranks and eventually became pope. Her secret was only discovered when she gave birth during a papal procession. Some people still believe this story is real, but apparently it's certainly just a tale. But here is what is fascinating. People believed in this story widely. Cardinals and normal people also. The historian Jean de Mailly recorded it in the 13th century. Martin of Opava included it in his chronicles. Petrarch mentions it. And even Boccaccio writes about her. Boccaccio, not the Italian restaurant. Boccaccio, the writer. So why did medieval Europe needed to believe in a female pope? Because the archetype demands to exist. Knowledge and faith are not female or male. It's like the collective unconscious is saying, yeah, women study too, women think too, women access the sacred too. But notice what the legend does. It punishes her. She dies in childbirth, in shame. Boo! Knowledge is allowed, but only in secret. Authority is permitted, but only through disguise. And the moment her body reveals itself as female, she's erased. Okay, same archetype, different story. The history tried to reduce her as a prostitute, but the texts tell us that she was something far way more dangerous, a teacher, an apostle, a priest. In the Gospel of Mary, she is the one who receives the secret teaching of the Christ. Peter and Andrew are jealous. Peter literally asks, did he really speak to a woman in private, without our knowledge? Should we all turn and listen to her? Did he prefer her to us? And Levi's response is devastating. So here is in Mary Magdalene, the Papesse, the High Priestess as she could be. Not locked in study, but teaching. Not pure and untouched, but living and touching and being touched. And still sacred and divine. I love that. You know, maybe she was a prostitute. So what? Prostitutes are not the creation of God too, and they are not connected to the sacred and to the divine. The early Christian community had priestesses, even prophetesses. But by the 4th century, the Council of Laodicea banned the ordination of women. And Mary Magdalene, apostle, teacher, was slowly erased from canonical gospels, and her authority was deleted. This is tragic. Yeah. So why is that? You should ask why. And I'm asking why. Because a female priestess who acts in the world is way more dangerous than one who sits in silence, studying. Okay, let's return to the card itself. Did you see this little egg that is sitting next to her? She's in gestation. She's maybe in gestation of herself. She's always becoming and never arriving. She's accumulating knowledge and wisdom, never testing it to reality. And in the tarot sequence, she mirrors the Hanged Man. You know, he's number 12, she's number 2. And they are both closed in their own world. They are both introspective, suspended, and locked inside themselves. So this is a little bit the shadow side of faith, like when faith becomes an excuse not to live fully. At this point, purity is almost like sterility. There is also a particular kind of violence that we can name with La Papesse. She doesn't just represent an ideal of purity, but it's also an ideal of purity that is imposed to others in the world. The kind of religious rules that say this is what holiness looks like. Silent, chaste, studious. This is almost faith turned into a moral weapon. This kind of priestess or so-called priestess that will say, I have access to the divine, and you do not. You know, every woman that has ever been told that she's too much, too loud, too ambitious, too sexual, has had to face this archetype. You know, like every person, male or female, that has been excluded from religious spaces because their behavior or their questions didn't fit the purity code, they have been facing this archetype. But okay, there is also a paradox here. She's also embodying something real. She's genuinely connected to the world soul. You know, she really accesses wisdom. She's not entirely empty, of course. So maybe the question that the High Priestess is asking is, can you keep your purity without forcing it to others? Can you be devoted to the sacred without hating the ordinary world? So when I painted La Papesse, because I'm painting a tarot deck, I used too much red. And you know, acrylic ink is beautiful, but acrylic ink is permanent. So I don't know, I use this red first because there is a little bit of red in La Papesse, but I find it so deep, so beautiful. It gave me really a cool feeling, a very vivid feeling, and I put it everywhere. And actually it doesn't fit at all the symbolism of the card. She looked more like she was ready to fight instead of ready to meditate. And of course, in everything, but especially in tarot, color really carries meaning. Red is passion, action, blood, heat, and blue is more contemplation, depth, cold. So getting that wrong was a big misunderstanding. So I changed at least a big part that is in the middle, that is her sleeve. So I had to put some gouache, white gouache upon it, and then add layers of blue. And now it's more harmonious, I feel, between the two colors. Still, it's very red. Okay, my High Priestess is a little bit more active than other ones. So the highest version of La Papesse is not the one who is studying there alone. It's the one who studies, yes, integrates, grows, and eventually closes this damned book. And finally stands up and finally steps through this veil into the messy world, you know, where all this knowledge has to mean actually something. This is what the Empress will do. It's card number 3. So maybe this is the real question that this card is asking. Are you studying life or are you living it? And I love this question. I'm asking this question to myself all the time. Okay. Thank you very much. If you didn't like this video, please leave a thumb down, but do it introspectively. And take care, and good night, good afternoon, good morning, afternoon.